What are genetically modified (GM) foods? Genetically modified (GM) foods are food, typically crops, that have been created by altering their DNA with various organisms to engineer the plant to avoid some kind of pest or disease. The plants that are mostly likely to be GM are soybean, corn, canola, and cottonseed oil. The very first GM plant was the tobacco plant, which was created to make tobacco resistant to antibiotics. Then they started using recombinant chymosin for cheese making in the 1990s. Later came the GM tomato, which was called the Flavraseviar tomato, approved for sale by the FDA in 1994. This tomato didn't start getting ripe until after picking, allowing farms to lose fewer crops to the natural ripening process. Later, canola used in oil production was modified, as was cotton, to resist herbicides. Finally came potatoes, soybeans, and golden rice. GMOs are bred to have pest control properties, be antibiotic resistant, and be resistant to herbicides. They use many different methods to come up with these crops, which calls into question the safety of them. At the time, most people widely believed that GM foods were not dangerous to the population. People did have concerns that the GM food, once created, became the intellectual property of corporation which produced it. Meaning, you cannot save the seeds from GM crops to use in a future crop. You have to buy the seeds all over again. Plus, due to the nature of plants, the GM plants can theoretically invade other plants nearby, and a farmer may end up with GM crops without meaning to. So, today we have GM papaya, created to save Hawaii's crop from the ring spot virus. By 2014 we had zucchini, potatoes, apples and more, all grown in the USA, that are genetically modified to resist various pests or herbicides. The largest GM crop is corn, which is produced as human food and made into many different products, and finally the waste is used for livestock food. Soy is more likely to be GM than corn, with 90% being GM. From soy, many other products are made, including food for human consumption, as well as food for livestock. The largest GMO crop in the USA is sugar beet. While GM cattle and salmon exist, they still do not have approval for sale as human food. But some GM animals are used in the production of medicine and drugs. With the current climate around the world being against GM foods, there is little likelihood that GM animals will be legalized for sale anytime soon. However, they do exist and the corporations would like to get approval to put them on the market. Corporations like Monsanto Company did spend a lot of money, over $5.3 million in 1 year, on lobbying the government to get their crops and livestock approved. Ex-Monsanto executive Michael R. Taylor became head of the FDA from 1991 to 1994. Now it can be difficult to separate fact from fiction when it comes to research about GMOs. Due to these GMO crops being so prevalent, it can be difficult to avoid GMOs. But it's not impossible.